Here I have a set of made-up data for made-up students in a class. There are 10 students. There are 3 assignment categories. There are tests, quizzes, and homework. So let's go ahead and manipulate this sheet. Ultimately, what I want to do is to show you how to automatically generate a letter grade for students based on weighted assignment grades. Let's go ahead and see what each student's average is on each of the assignment categories. Let's add in 3 columns after the student ID number. So in order to add columns between data, what you have to do is first decide where you want to add it. So I want to add it after C but before D. And then how many columns? I want to add 3 columns. Click on D and move across while holding that button down to F. Come back up, right click. This menu will come up. We want to insert not to the right, but to the left. And there are the 3 columns. Quiz average. So in order to calculate the average, you can go and you can add up all the values and divide it by the total, but Google Sheets has these things called functions built in. Functions are formulas that perform a predefined task. There's a function in Google Sheets called average. That average function is programmed to calculate averages of a range of values that you select. Every function begins with an equal sign. Once you start typing it in, it will give you options for functions. So these are functions that all begin with average. And we want this one here. And now you have to select the range of values. And since this is the quiz, this is the range. For Jonathan, we're going to be taking his 2 values here. He had a 67 on the first quiz and an 88 on the second. Now hit return. So his average is 77.5. Let's do the same thing for homework. And let's do the same thing for tests. So there are your values. You can imagine if I had to do that for all the students, it's going to take a lot more time. Fortunately, we're using Google Sheets that has a lot of features built in to make your work a lot easier. In order to calculate these values, all I have to do is to copy this formula from up here and just paste it down. Go ahead and use the left mouse button, click here, and then move across while holding that button down to select all 3 of those cells. Then Command C, copy. Click on the first cell you want to paste it in. Hold down the Shift key, click on the last, and then Command V. It'll paste in those values. Now let me explain how copying and pasting formulas work. So when I click on cell D2, you can see the formula in the formula bar up here. So it's the average of cell G2 through H2 from here to there. Now if I go down to the next cell, remember I copied this and I pasted down the column. So I kept the column static. The only thing that's changing is the row. So the column index should remain the same, but the row index is changing. So the column index again is going to be G and H. The first row index is 2. The second is going to be 3. So we should see here G3 through H3. And there you go. The same thing is happening here in homework. The more you use Google Sheets, you'll become familiar and comfortable with how this works. Let's go ahead and just use some colors to distinguish the different parts. Highlight these guys here. Let's give it a yellow. I know those are my averages. Let's go here, click here, and let's bold the top, making that our heading. We're going to put the class average just below this heading here. The best way to add a row is to use your left button, click on the row you want to insert, and then use the right button, right click, menu comes up. You want to insert one above. Click here, and I'm going to say averages. In this case, we want to calculate the average for the values in each column. So this is equal average. And we want the average of these guys here. And we want to copy this, Command C, and we want to paste it across, Command V. So you can see it changed our formatting. We can go ahead and manually fix that formatting back. Or, let me undo that. We can do copy, Command C, and we can go across, select where we want to paste it, and then use the right button, click, paste special, paste just the formula, not the format. Right now, if we were to slide down, you can see all of that heading, row 1 and 2, disappears. And what we want to do is to make the heading static so that if we scroll down, you can always see the heading. And it's very easy to do that in Google Sheets. Bring your cursor where the column index and the row index intersect. So right here on this line, put your hand there, click, grab that line, and just move it down. We want to move it down below row 2. So now when you move down, you can see those headings remain static. The next thing we're going to do is define the weight of each assignment category. Let's go ahead and put the weight above row 1. Since tests are higher, let's take this column and move it in front of quizzes. So you just click on this F and you grab and move. So let me show you how to sort your data. Go ahead and highlight the entire data. Notice I'm not highlighting the headings. Go up here to data and you want to use sort range, and we want to sort it by last name, which is column B. So go ahead and select column B, and then once it's sorted that, we want to sort it by first name. So another sort column and select column A and sort. And now all of the values will be sorted according to these two columns. Let's select these columns, make them rounded to the 10th. And now we're going to come up here to the number formatting tools here, and we want to look at the decimal, and we want to make sure they all have 1 decimal. First press that and it gives you 2, and then let's reduce the decimal back down. It's looking good. Now let's go ahead and calculate the cumulative average. With the left button, click on column D, click on it again with the right button, and insert 1 to the left. And we're going to call this cumulative average. And let's copy this formula in here, Command C, and let's paste special, formula only. And now it's giving me this error reading because there are no values in here. But once we start adding values, it will correct. The average here is going to be whatever this value is times that plus whatever that value is times that plus whatever that value is times that. We're just going to type in the formula. So start with an equal, and it's going to be this. So click on this, times that value, plus click on this, times that value, plus click here, times that value, and hit return. So this student average is 86.2. We can copy this formula straight down, so Command C, and we can paste it down. It's going to give you a wrong calculation, but I want to show you this anyway. This one is even giving you an error. Now the reason for that is we are pointing to E1, F1, and G1. But all of these calculations should point to those same 3 cells. When you copy this formula down, it doesn't keep the row index fixed. The row index changes. So you can see it change from 1 to 2, and then to 3, and then to 4, etc. Okay? So how do we keep the row index fixed if we wanted to? If you want to keep the row index fixed, you have to put a $sign in front of the index. If you want to keep the column index fixed, you have to put a $sign in front of the column index, the letter. So let's go back in here and edit this formula. So we need to put a $sign here, and we need to put a $sign there, and we need to do the same thing here. And hit return. So you can see this value didn't change. But now when we copy this formula, Command C, and we paste it down, it's going to keep these indexes consistent. Let's go ahead and adjust these columns so we can see everything. The easiest way to adjust is to click on this box that intersects the row and column index. And that selects all your data, and just select any dividing point here between columns and double click, and you see it will automatically adjust the width. I'm going to go ahead and change this to HW and this to HW2, and then let's do that again. Double click. I want all of these columns to be about the same width. Highlight all of them, click on the largest one here, and I'll just make it a little bit bigger, and now they're all the same width. And maybe I want to do the same thing here. I can highlight those. We probably don't need name here, so let's just call this first and last. So the last thing we're going to do is just have Google Sheets automatically assign a letter grade. Insert 1 to the left. All these students are doing so well. I want to have some students that have some bad grades. Let me mess up some of the grades here. So let's give this guy a 43, 65 there. And so he gets a C. Oh, let's make it a little lower. Let's give him a 55 there. He's not a good student. Now we got a D there, and I want an F. Let's give this student a 35 and maybe a 45. Yeah, we got an F. All right, so let's call this letter. We're going to use what are called if statements. So if the grade is this value, then put in this letter. Later on, I will show you a more sophisticated way of doing this, but for now, I'm just going to show you the straightforward, bare bones method. But just keep an eye out for later lessons where things can get more complicated, but fun. I'm going to just type in down here for convenience. So we have A, D is 60 and higher, and everything else is going to be F. We're going to write the formula in here from scratch, but we're going to use one function called the if function. All formulas must begin with an equal. So equal, and we're going to start with if this value is greater than or equal to 90, what do? Put a comma and tell what should happen and put in an A. Notice that I have that A in quotes. Why? Because it's what we call a string. It doesn't have any quantitative value. And you follow that with a second comma, which tells what to happen if that condition is not met. So if that condition is not met, if the student doesn't have 90 or higher, what should happen? And what I want to happen is to check a second condition, beginning with an if. If the same cell, so E4, is greater than or equal to 80, then we're going to make it a B. If not, then we're going to test a third condition. If E4 is greater than or equal to 70, then we're going to put in a C. Now we're going to test a fourth condition. If E4 is greater than or equal to 60, then we're going to put in a D. And we only need to test 4 conditions. Everything else is going to be an F. Otherwise, put in an F. So the very last condition should be followed by a comma and then the last alternative. And then hit return. So the student got a B. And now we can just copy this, Command C, and let's also paste it in the average. So we're just going to paste it all the way down here. Class average is a C. The student got a B, a C, a B, B, D, B, D, B, B, B. Okay, and you can imagine that you could also do this for B plus, B minus, A plus, A minus, A, etc. It will just require more coding. So that's what we have. I can delete this now. Don't need that. Yeah, I think that's it.